Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the worldwide headquarters here at EDGYTIM.com. It is semifinal time. It is definitely kind of fall winterish in the air, but I think weather-wise will be okay Saturday. It looks like mid 50s and partly sunny, and hey, I'm down with that for sure. So I don't think we'll ever top the weather we had this past Saturday. Absolutely spectacular, but mid 50s, dry. Well, looks that way according to the early forecast. And let's go. So I'm ready to go. So today we are going to discuss and try to break down and give you my thoughts on the Class 6A semifinals. Um, First game in the northern part of the bracket. Now remember, 6A and below is seated geographically. So you're obviously going to have some geographical balance or imbalance, depending on how you look at it. In the northern bracket, 6, Fenwick taking on NAS, two Battle of CL teams. Saturday at 1 o'clock, and on the other side of the bracket, East St. Louis, the Flyers finally get out of East St. Louis, and they are coming up to Chicagoland, taking on St. Lawrence out in lovely Burbank, Illinois, and that is my game for Saturday. So I will get a first-hand view of the 2025 East St. Louis Flyers. Because damn it, I'm sick of you guys talking about, well, they're number one and we should be number one and blah 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 blah. I'll tell you what I think after I see the Flyers. If you notice, very quiet on the subject because let's face it, I'm not going to talk about something until I really get a chance to see him and see him up close and get a better feel. And that's exactly why I'm going back to Burbank. Second time in the postseason, by the way, visiting St. Lawrence. I'm very happy to do that. So again, I got the chance to see the Vikings beat Bradley early on, and going back for this game in the semis. So should be fun. Looking forward to the game. And again, my game is a 1 o'clock kickoff out at St. Lawrence on Saturday. So Fenwick NAS is really, really an intriguing game, and a lot of people are getting excited about it. I've gotten some calls from people I hear from every once in a while saying, hey, what do you think? And I think this could be a really good game. I agree. I think it could be a really good game. Again, haven't seen Fenwick. Kind of wish I had a chance to get out. I try, folks. I try like hell to get out and see every possible team that I can, but it just didn't work in the cards. I have seen NAS on NAS very early in the year, actually week 1 against Kankakee, and then St. Lawrence, obviously, I saw a few weeks ago, so I got a pretty good feel for both of them. Fenwick, big year. Jamin Williams, I think it's Jamin. Quarterback is a multi-year starter, really good athlete, has done a terrific job leading that Friars offense. Thies brothers, Tommy, Jake, both terrific players. Tommy committed to Miami of Ohio. Can play running back, wide receiver, defensive back, play safety. Play him anywhere, basically. The same goes with Jake as well. Two just really good athletes, do a lot of good things. Just very, very solid football players, both all conference. And again, this is a Fenwick offense that has put up a lot of points this year, so a lot of explosiveness. I mentioned Williams, the quarterback, does a really good job. He's a dual threat for sure. This should be a very, very interesting matchup against a NAS team that defensively has been pretty solid all year. I would say the strength of the Roadrunners has definitely been the offense, though. Jackson Fela, who's come in. And again, the big question going into this year for NAS was, you graduated Logan Malachuk, and you graduated Gabe Kaminsky, and you graduated this core of kids that led you to multiple state titles. Man, how do you replace that? Well, they have. Jackson Fela was splitting time and really didn't decide. Tim Racky didn't decide on a starting quarterback till about week 3, week 4, it seemed like. So again, which in the long run, it's a positive because you obviously have a very good quality backup. And Frankie Nichols, I know, has played some receiver and he's involved in special teams and stuff. So believe me, it's Naz is getting the most out of all their athletes. But boy, I tell you what, to go into a season with 2 quarterbacks you've got faith in, that's rare. So definitely a plus for Naz in that regard. And again, they've done very well. Jackson seems like he's improved every week, and that pass game is solid. And you've got some great receivers, and that's a real big strength of this team. Trenton Walker is just a dude. He really is. Big, kind of lanky, 6'3", 6'4", 170, 180. Can go get everything. Also playing a really good defensive back this year. Jake Crestone is your prototypical Illinois State receiver. He's committed to the Redbirds. Great route runner, impressive hands, just a really, really good football player overall. And again, Eddie McClain. Gotta love Eddie. I mean, just does a little bit of everything. You play him at running back, you play him at receiver, play him on defensive back. He's the key in special teams. Jalen Torres, multi-year All-Stater now. Just an absolute pain in the ass on the defensive line for Naz. So, and I haven't even gotten into Chris Kasky, who's a big-time impact player, defensive end. Luke Indichuk, very good offensive lineman, has a chance to maybe end up being a power 4 guy when it's all said and done. So, as usual, Naz was able to find a way to reload and to keep rolling. So, but again, there's nothing coming easy this week. You saw last week where Naz kind of hit a lull and was down and had to fight their way back. And that's the one thing about Naz. And they do not give up. They do not quit, because this isn't the first time that they found themselves to back up against the wall. They always come out and they always have an answer. And man, you got to admire that out of Tim Rackey's teams. They do not stop fighting. They are always in it, and you can never, ever look past them or look around them, because they'll find a way to beat you. And they did that last week with Lake Zurich. Absolutely stunned Lake Zurich with the way that game ended in the fourth quarter. So again, this is a team with a ton of heart. They know how to win. They make deep postseason runs. But they're going up against a Fenwick team that I think physically is ready for them. I think this is going to be a terrific chess match as well on Saturday. So another pick 'em, honestly. The start is going to be interesting. I think the key for Fenwick is going to be getting out early and putting pressure on Naz and just make Naz have to chase points and keep up. And we'll trade blow for blow. I see this game, and I've said this before, I see a final score in the 30s. Last possession kind of wins kind of deal. But this one could be close. It really could. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. It wouldn't be the first time I've been shocked, but I would be a little bit shocked if this one isn't as close as I think it's going to be. Pick a winner. Okay, I'll go with Naz or at home, but it's a coin flip. I would not be stunned or surprised at all to see Fenwick make it downstate. So we'll see what happens. And then East St. Louis at St. Lawrence. First-year coach Patrick Swanson, who, again, I didn't get a chance to talk to him when I covered Bradley, but, I remember Patrick from Platteville. My daughter went to Platteville, played softball up there, went to school, really enjoyed it. I got to know some of the Platteville coaches. Mike Emmendorfer, I still consider a good friend. I've known Emmy for a while now, and he was a longtime head coach up at Platteville, and then he retired, and he's now actually the athletic director of Rock Island. And I think Pat might have just started coaching under Emmy, or maybe was still involved in the program, but I remember him for sure. I remember him coming to maybe one or two of my showcase camps, because Platteville always attended. So again, first year coach, done a great job. I mean, tell you what, St. Lawrence, kind of interesting. Offensively, they kind of been rotating between a couple of quarterbacks all year. I know Jimmy McDermott's one, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the other young man's name. They do a little bit of something, each kind of unique. One more of a thrower, one more kind of a runner. But then you bring in Corey Luss into the equation, which has been interesting here in the postseason. So Corey Luss, tremendous baseball player, already committed to Louisville for baseball. So his future is pretty locked up. There are a lot of questions whether Corey would come back out for football or not, or whether he was going to stick with the baseball route. Well, Corey came back for sure. and really started the playoffs against Bradley. First half, St. Lawrence didn't have a whole lot going on offensively. They seemed kind of bogged down a little bit. And then it was more towards the end of the mid-second quarter. They brought Corey Less in, dropped back, played Wildcat, had success, moved the ball. Second half came out and just pounded Bradley. Smaller, quicker team in Bradley. Vikings did not play around. They put the football in Corey Less's hands, and he ended up having a huge second half and led them to that win, and obviously kind of stuck with that offensive attack and philosophy again last week and beat Dunlap 28-14. So again, it's going to be interesting because if you're East St. Louis, you don't know what to expect out of St. Lawrence. Honestly, I'm gonna imagine from what I saw, I think they're going to see a lot of Corey Less again if you're St. Lawrence offensively. Running Wildcat, maybe rotating some things in and out, which obviously Lawrence can do a couple of things if they need to. Good skill talent overall, pretty good size up front. Again, strategy-wise, if you're St. Lawrence, I just do not want to give East St. Louis touches. I want that offense staying on the sidelines for an extended amount of time. I want to control tempo. In games where East St. Louis has had trouble over the years, it's generally been against, well, you guys know, Cary Grove, Prairie Ridge not so much, but teams that can run the ball, can get physical up front, and kind of match that physicality with East St. Louis, because trust me, folks, East St. Louis is monster up front on the D-line. Very good, very aggressive D-line. They get after it. They're going to come right at you. So if you can answer that punch with a counter punch, and maybe the philosophy and the plan of attack is to run right at St. Louis, you can move the sticks doing that. I think you stick with it. And the last thing I want to do is give East St. Louis a bunch of touches offensively, because as we've seen the last handful of years, they can put up points in a hurry. You got to, if you're St. Lawrence, you got to play clean. You got to control tempo. You got to control time of possession. You limit their chances. That's what Cary Grove was able to do in the recent past. Long extended drives. You got to finish those drives with points and take advantage of every single penalty and or turnover you might get from East St. Louis, because again, points will always be at a premium when you're playing the Flyers. Now the Flyers, look, they play their national non-conference schedule. They've played some great teams. They were in games. There was one or two I think they should have won, honestly. But they can hang, and the talent level's never been better. I mean, Myson, Johnson, Cook, I remember when he was a freshman at Decatur MacArthur, and he was fantastic then. Then they moved to Texas. He does well in Texas. They moved back. Now they're in East St. Louis. He's nationally sought after running back, and he's the real deal. He's big. He runs hard. He's got great speed. He's everything you look for in a top-level running back. So you've got that. You've got an offensive line full of freshmen and sophomores. That line probably averages 6'3", 6'4", 310. And I'm not joking. It's gigantic. It's young. And it's just gotten better and better. Reese Shanklin, great quarterback, is just going to get better. He's gotten better all year. His backup, Jaden, I can't remember Jaden's last name, very good backup as well, a year younger than Reese. So quarterback-wise, they're pretty set for a while. Great receivers, Rupert Cortez, committed to Indiana. He's one of the top guys. Ronnie Goldmiller, and there's literally 7 or 8 receivers that could step in at any moment and play and play at a really high level. And defensively, we mentioned really good speed in the back 7. Linebackers do a terrific job. 2 underclassmen linebackers are leading tacklers, to give you an idea about this team. And as I mentioned, that D-line is huge up front. So I'm really excited to get to see East St. Louis in person. I'm excited to see how St. Lawrence kind of approaches the Flyers. And I think even the Flyers will tell you they always find it interesting to see how opponents kind of game plan and kind of what the strategy is to try to at least slow down and or beat East St. Louis. So it should be a lot of fun on Saturday. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing both games. And One I'll see on tape. The other I will watch live in East St. Louis at St. Lawrence. Again, two great games, and again, I went with Naz. I'll go with East St. Louis, but I don't know. I wrote this earlier in the week. I get kind of Lamont vibes with St. Lawrence, meaning, there are a handful of those games where East St. Louis took on Lamont, and people didn't expect much, but Lamont gave them everything they could handle. And I think this is that kind of St. Lawrence team that you better respect them, because they're going to come out and give you the best game. St. Lawrence, whether they can handle it for 4 quarters or not, they're going to come out and punch in the mouth. And that's what St. Lawrence has always done. And there's no change in that mentality at all under Pat Swatson. So we'll see. It's going to be really interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So those are my thoughts on the Class 6A state semifinal game. And thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.